Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns visit Seth Rollins in hospital after injury. Stop everything. The Shield is reuniting not in a wrestling ring, not for a storyline, but in a hospital where Seth Rollins is recovering from what's being reported as a serious injury sustained during that brutal attack from Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed on SmackDown. And both Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, and Roman Reigns reportedly showed up to visit Seth, which means we're witnessing something real, something beyond wrestling, something that proves these three men are brothers regardless of what company they work for or what characters they play. But here's what has me furious: why did it take Seth being hospitalized for WWE to realize they pushed the violence too far? Why did it take a legitimate injury for everyone to suddenly care about wrestlers' safety? And where were all these safety protocols before Braun and Reed were allowed to destroy Seth on live television without proper protection or backup? This is exactly the kind of preventable situation that makes me question WWE's priorities. I am emotional about the Shield Brotherhood. I am angry about how this situation was handled. And I am absolutely demanding answers about how Seth got injured, what WWE is doing to prevent future incidents, and what this means for everyone involved. Drop in the comments right now, are you more moved by the Shield Brotherhood or more furious at WWE for letting this happen? Because I'm feeling both intensely. Reports from multiple wrestling news sources are confirming that Seth Rollins was taken to a local medical facility following SmackDown, and both Jon Moxley, who had to travel from wherever AEW had him scheduled, and Roman Reigns, who was reportedly nearby for WWE commitments, made their way to the hospital to check on their Shield brother. This is unprecedented in modern wrestling. Question for the Shield historians: when was the last time all three Shield members were confirmed to be in the same location, let alone visiting each other during a medical crisis? This is historic. Let me break down everything we know about this situation, what we're hearing from sources, and what the implications are for Seth's health, WWE's booking, and the Shield's brotherhood that apparently transcends company politics. The injury occurred during the planned confrontation between Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker/Bronson Reed on SmackDown. According to eyewitness accounts from the arena, the segment started as expected. Seth came out to confront his attackers, initial brawling ensued, and then things went wrong. Multiple fans who were present reported that one particular spot, a powerbomb from Braun Breaker onto the ring apron, looked wrong immediately. Seth landed awkwardly, his body twisted in a way it shouldn't, and while he tried to continue the segment, those close to the action could tell something was seriously wrong. Bronson Reed's subsequent tsunami splash, which was part of the planned sequence, allegedly made things worse. Seth was already injured from the first botch, and adding 330 pounds of impact to an already compromised area created a medical emergency situation. Should WWE have stopped the segment the moment Seth was clearly injured, or was continuing to the planned finish the right call? This is a genuine safety versus entertainment debate. Backstage sources report that Seth was immediately attended to by WWE medical personnel after the segment. He was able to walk to the back under his own power initially, but his condition apparently deteriorated rapidly, prompting the decision to transport him to a hospital for evaluation and treatment. The specific nature of Seth's injury hasn't been officially disclosed. WWE rarely confirms exact injuries anymore to avoid legal complications, but reports suggest it involves his back and possibly his ribs from the apron impact and subsequent splash. Here's what makes this situation particularly concerning: Seth Rollins has a history of significant injuries. He's come back from a torn ACL, various neck issues, and other ailments accumulated over 15 years of wrestling. Adding another serious injury to that history raises questions about his long-term health and career longevity. Let me ask, at what point does a wrestler's injury history become too significant to continue taking these risks? When do we prioritize health over entertainment? Now let's talk about Jon Moxley's involvement, because this is where the story becomes truly remarkable from a human interest perspective. Jon Moxley is contracted to AEW, WWE's direct competition. He famously left WWE citing creative frustrations and wanting more freedom. He's built his post-WWE career on being the anti-WWE wrestler. And yet, when he heard his Shield brother was hospitalized, he reportedly immediately made arrangements to visit Seth. According to sources, Moxley was actually in a different city for AEW commitments when he got word about Seth's injury. He had to rearrange his entire schedule, possibly even miss AEW obligations, to make this hospital visit happen. That's brotherhood that transcends business. The fact that Moxley prioritized Seth's well-being over company loyalty, over potential political fallout, over everything else demonstrates what the Shield always represented: genuine bonds formed through shared struggle. Should Jon Moxley face any consequences from AEW for visiting a WWE wrestler during AEW time, or should Tony Khan understand that brotherhood comes first? This tests company loyalty limits. Roman Reigns' presence is equally significant, but for different reasons. Roman is currently WWE's franchise player, the face of the company, the tribal chief whose every move is scrutinized and scheduled. For Roman to drop everything and visit Seth suggests WWE either supported this or Roman simply didn't care about permission. Roman and Seth's relationship has been complicated over the years. They've been brothers, enemies, rivals, allies, and everything in between. The Shield broke up partially due to Seth's betrayal. They've had matches where they legitimately tried to hurt each other. But when Seth needed family, Roman was there. That's the message here. Regardless of storylines, regardless of past betrayals, regardless of current alignments, the Shield brotherhood is real and permanent. The image that several people have described, no photos have been leaked, respecting privacy, is reportedly emotional. All three Shield members together, not in tactical vests or wrestling gear, but as Joe Anoa'i, Jonathan Good, and Colby Lopez checking on their brother. Question: should fans respect the privacy of this moment, or do we have a right to see documentation of the Shield reunion given their public careers? The wrestling community's reaction has been overwhelmingly emotional. Fans on social media have been sharing Shield memories, expressing concern for Seth, and praising Moxley and Roman for showing up. Fellow wrestlers from both WWE and AEW have been posting support for Seth, which shows the brotherhood extends beyond just the Shield. Even people who've criticized WWE's booking are setting aside those complaints to focus on Seth's health and recovery. This situation has created a rare moment of unity in the typically divided wrestling fandom. But we need to address the elephant in the room. How did this injury happen, and who's responsible? Let's be clear, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed are not at fault for Seth's injury. Wrestling is inherently dangerous. Accidents happen even with perfect execution. Blaming the performers would be unfair and counterproductive. However, WWE's booking of this segment deserves scrutiny. Why was Seth put in a 2-on-1 situation with minimal protection? Why were high-risk spots like apron powerbombs included in the layout? Why wasn't there a backup plan in case something went wrong? Why has WWE created a culture where ultraviolence is expected every week? These are systemic issues that go beyond one match or one injury. Should WWE reduce the frequency and intensity of violent segments to protect wrestler health, or is that violence essential to their product? The safety versus entertainment balance. The potential consequences of this injury are massive. For Seth Rollins, recovery time is unknown, return date uncertain, possible career implications if injury is severe. For WWE booking, major storylines involving Seth need immediate rewrites, planned matches are cancelled, creative chaos. For Braun/Reed, despite not being at fault, they may carry psychological burden of injuring someone, affecting their confidence. For the Shield legacy, this might be remembered as the moment that brought them back together, even if just personally. For company politics, Moxley visiting Seth crosses company lines in unprecedented ways. What does this mean for WWE/AEW relations? Rank these 5 consequences by most significant to least significant. Which matters most? Historical context is important. The Shield's history is filled with injuries, separations, and reunions. Roman's leukemia battle brought them together. Seth's knee injury in 2015 happened right after reunion teases. Dean/Moxley's departure created the longest separation. Individual injuries have kept full Shield reunions from happening. This hospital visit might not lead to an in-ring reunion, but it proves the bond survives everything thrown at it. The timing is also pointed. Roman potentially retiring, if those reports are true, Seth now injured, and Moxley thriving in AEW. This could be one of the last times all three are together in their primes. Does the potential finality of this moment make it more meaningful, or does it make you sad that we might never see the Shield together again? Paul Heyman's involvement, if any, would be fascinating. Heyman has managed both Roman and worked with Seth. Does he facilitate this reunion? Observe from distance? What's his role? The medical prognosis for Seth is the priority, obviously. Until we know the extent of his injuries, everything else is speculation. Best case scenario, Seth has severe bruising and needs a few weeks rest. He returns relatively quickly. Moderate scenario, Seth has fractured ribs or back issues requiring 2 to 3 months recovery. Manageable but concerning. Worst case scenario, Seth has spinal or internal injuries requiring surgery. Months to year plus recovery, career uncertainty. We're all hoping for best case, expecting moderate, and praying it's not worst case. The fan response should focus on support for Seth rather than speculation about returns or storylines. His health is what matters. WWE's official statement, when/if it comes, will be carefully worded to avoid liability while expressing concern. That's corporate reality in litigious society. But behind the corporate speak, there should be genuine reflection about whether their product's violence level is sustainable without regular injuries. Should WWE follow AEW's lead and have independent medical staff making safety decisions, or maintain current system? Healthcare management question. The Shield's legacy gets reinforced by this moment regardless of what happens next. They debuted together, dominated together, broke apart, achieved individual success, and now reunite during crisis. That's a complete story arc. Whether they ever team again in a ring doesn't matter. The brotherhood is established and permanent. Final questions before we wrap. 1. How serious do you think Seth Rollins' injury actually is? 2. Was WWE irresponsible in booking that violent confrontation? 3. Does Jon Moxley visiting Seth change your perception of company loyalty? 4. Should the Shield have one final reunion match when Seth recovers? 5. What changes should WWE make to prevent similar injuries? Give me your thoughts on all 5 questions. Here's my ultimate take: the Shield brotherhood transcending company politics and showing up for each other during genuine crisis is beautiful and reminds us why we fell in love with these 3 in the first place. But this beautiful moment exists because of an ugly situation. Seth Rollins was injured during an unnecessarily violent segment that WWE could have structured more safely. Jon Moxley traveling to be there despite AEW obligation shows what real friendship looks like. Roman Reigns making time despite his schedule shows family comes first. Both deserve respect for prioritizing human connection over business. Seth Rollins deserves a full recovery and whatever time he needs. His health is infinitely more important than any storyline or return date. WWE deserves criticism for creating environments where these injuries happen regularly. Safety should be paramount, not an afterthought. This situation is simultaneously heartwarming, Shield brotherhood, and infuriating, preventable injury. We can feel both emotions simultaneously. Let me know everything in the comments. Are you more emotional or angry? What's your Seth injury prediction? Should Shield reunite? And if you made it this far, drop Shield forever if this brotherhood moment moved you, or safety first if you're focused on WWE's responsibility. Subscribe for updates on Seth's condition and Shield news. Like if the Shield brotherhood still matters to you. And share because everyone needs to know about this powerful moment of friendship. Until next time, prioritize health, cherish real friendships, and I'll see you in the next one.